Okay, welcome back. Let's talk to our good friend Sebastian Gorka, who joins us from time to time, former advisor to Donald Trump. And God, if only Donald Trump was in charge now, the world would be a safer place, wouldn't it, Ash?
He's coming back in 24.
Is he? Is that right,
He's going to sort it all out, isn't he, Sebastian? Yeah.
He is definitely running with one proviso. Greetings, gentlemen.
Good evening.
If you work in the midterm elections this November, because we have to take back the House of Representatives and the Senate, otherwise Crazy Nancy, is going to impeach him even before he moves back into the White House. So if everything goes well, and given the shambolic 14 months of Biden, we take the House, we take the Senate, and then I guarantee you right now, my old boss is running, and he will, God willing, stroll back into Casablanca.
Well, I was, it sounds like I'm name dropping, but Nigel Farage has been a mate of mine for a long, long time. And I bumped into him at the weekend, and we were having because he just did an interview with him. And we were having a long chat about it. And he seems to feel that Sir Donald really does want to get back in.
Oh, I saw, and he's not long after the election, I went to see President Trump in Trump Tower. And he was fuming. He doesn't think that what happened in 2020 was fair. Lots of question marks about, mail-in ballots and everything else. So, no, he energy. And look, he's holding a rally Saturday night. He's holding a rally every single week. You don't do that if you're moving off quietly into the sunset. So, no, he wants back. And look, it's been a disaster. Forget politics for a second. Look at what's happened. The price of petrol, double-digit inflation, war in Ukraine, 2 million illegal immigrants across the border, the surrender in Afghanistan. You'd have to be mental to want to have this old git stay in the White House.
So why did the people of America vote for Biden? I mean, he didn't even look charismatic during the election. I mean,
it was
he
Trump that
stumbled
lost
upstairs.
it, wasn't it? Trump sort of lost it, didn't he, rather than Biden won.
Well, let's look at the facts of the matter. So we could spend hours talking about all the strange things that happened with, for example, I live in Virginia. The governor of Virginia, for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth, said, as we mailed out tens of millions of ballots, he said, for the first time, we're not going to verify signatures. When that ballot comes back, doesn't matter whether it's got a cross or Mickey Mouse, it's a vote. So let's put that to side for 1 second. If you just look at the votes for President Trump, a couple of stunning things. He got more votes than any other incumbent president in history, despite the fact that he'd been called a racist, a misogynist, an Islamophobe, a Nazi, a white supremacist. For 4 years, he got actually more votes from the black and Hispanic community than any Republican president since the 1960s. So
because they had the lowest unemployment in history as well, though, the Hispanics and the black people.
Lowest unemployment for ethnic minorities since record-keeping began, and we had the lowest unemployment for women since the 1960s. So it's really a no-brainer. A lot of people said, oh, the tweets were the problem. Really? Who cares about the tweets when the world is stable and when you can afford to fill up a tank of petrol?
I mean, the thing seems to me is it was the kind of the lefty elite, if you like, the sort of media lovies who were driving this, and even in this country, oh, Trump, oh, it's terrible. And also, the beautiful thing about Trump is, to my view, is he wasn't a politician. All right, and that is what made it work, as far as I'm concerned. Even my lovely wife, who wasn't very keen on him, has now changed her mind radically, and thinks that he probably was the best thing that ever happened to America. I mean, look what happened when Obama was president, that they all loved, all the media loved him. He was such a great guy, and he was a good orator. He could, but he
was a weak man. He put the red line in, didn't he, that now that it wasn't in force, and this has all led to where we are now, really.
And don't forget the rise of ISIS. That happened on Obama's watch. So, look, I think you're seeing in the US something very similar to what's happening in the UK. The parties, especially on the left, which sounds a bit weird because they're supposed to represent the working man, the underdog, they've become parties of the metropolitan elite. Look how the Brexit vote went in London. I mean, it's clear are elitist parties. And the stunning thing is, people forget this, and I love pointing this out to my fellow Americans. I'm an immigrant. In 2016, something very strange happened. For the first time in our history, from 1776 right up to Obama, and it goes to your point, James, we elected as president a man who wasn't a politician or a retired general. From Washington to Obama, every stinking president was a former congressman, a senator, a governor, or a retired general. In 16, the American people said, sod that. We want somebody who's not a member of the swamp. It's because he wasn't a politician that we elected him, and that's why we need him back. And actually, it's not just about him. We need more people who aren't politicians to be in government.
Well, we had Farage, didn't we, in this country? It was a similar thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. They turned against him.
Yeah.
Well, they're very...
Answer me this. Go on.
And Trump are very similar. I think, businessmen who are about the sovereignty of the nation, because Nigel's been around for 20-odd years, on this fight, and finally he got some recognition.
And the elite, they just call them all, racist, and they just double down on that, and eventually, they seem to have control and power and manage to win in the end.
I've got a question I have got to ask, because I was watching Nancy Pelosi the other day, and I don't know whether... so was I, because either she's lost it completely or she's just completely frigging mad. I don't know.
Well, she's older than Biden, isn't she? She's actually older than Biden.
Well, to have her and Biden in charge of the biggest country, if you like, in the world with the biggest amount of nuclear weapons, I find quite worrying.
Well, you should. I mean, she's technically, as per the Constitution, the third most powerful person in America. So it's the president, it's the vice president, and the speaker of the House. And when you see her give these rambling speeches where you don't know whether she's drunk or whether her dentures are loose, you think, hang on, Nancy, you're 82 years old. Give it a rest. Just go and play with your great-great-grandkids. What are you doing? At the point of, the threat of nuclear war. I don't know if you caught Biden in Brussels today. He was asked a question by a reporter, which is a reasonable question. What if Putin escalates? What if he uses chemical weapons? And you can see Biden close his eyes, the brain cells run together. And he says, if that happens, we will respond in kind. Yeah. Well, he just committed America to using illegal chemical weapons against Russia. And he said, Lord preserve us. This is the commander-in-chief. Every second of the day, there's a military aide who's within 30 feet of that man carrying a very large case that has the nuclear codes. And he just said, yeah, we might just drop illegal chemical weapons on Moscow.
I know. Unbelievable.
I mean, every time he talks, it's as if he's not really sure of what he's going to say or how he's going to say it.
Well, they tried to explain that away, that he didn't actually mean that. He meant something else.
I apologise about the dogs. They're having a party. I'll have to go and fix them in a minute. Girls, quiet. Is there no way that the people of America can... I mean, he obviously isn't up to the job. He and Nancy are too old for the job. I mean, there are people of that age who I'm sure could do it perfectly well, but those two are not them.
This is a man who, by the way, they keep talking about how he stutters. He doesn't stutter. This is open knowledge. If you go online, you can research this. Joe Biden has had 2 brain aneurysms before he became president. A Democrat, the man who was the Secretary of Defense and then the CIA director for Obama in his memoirs, who's a very measured bureaucrat, Robert Gates, went on record and said, Joe Biden has been wrong on every significant foreign policy issue for 4 decades. And now we're giving him a chance to prove that in a 5th decade. It's really quite shocking. But this is what happens when the elites think they have to cling on to power for forever. I mean, I don't know about you, but, when I'm 80, I'm not going to want to be a politician, I don't think.